Joining us now with more, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, my dear friend, Speaker Newt Gingrich. Sir, you keep talking about the party of crazy versus the party of common sense. The party of common sense has a heavy lift. They've got to get their budget passed. It looks like it's going to be one big, beautiful bill. The reconciliation rules in the Senate are hard, but Lindsey Graham, who will be on the show tomorrow, believes as budget chair, he can bypass the parliamentarian. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, if he can get the votes, he can, sure. That's you have what, in a sense, directed scoring, and they could do that. There'll probably be a parliamentary move by the Democrats, but if they can get 50 Republicans plus the vice president to vote with Lindsey, of course they could do it. What's fascinating to me is, I've watched Cory Booker for years. He used to be a relatively pleasant, almost moderate liberal. He was a reformer back in Newark. The performance this week is just plain weird. And if you look at his eyes towards the end, I mean, you're dealing with a guy who is living in an alternative universe. And that's what's happening to their party. They're really increasingly split. I think you'll see a civil war break out between the religious left, who believe in everything you talked about earlier with Mark Wayne Mullins, and the survivalists who understand, you can't run on 12, 15, 20% issues and survive. And I fully expect to see a deep split in the Democratic Party in the next year and a half. And remember, yesterday in Florida, Democrats outspent Republicans 8-1 in a congressional seat and lost. They outspent Republicans in the other congressional seat 4-1 and lost. If I were the Democrats, those numbers would really sober me a lot.
Well, they talk about the Wisconsin Supreme Court case, but they had the more conservative justice that was running, or would-be justice, on record saying that he did not support exceptions and wanted to uphold the earlier law in Wisconsin that doesn't have exceptions for rape, incest, or the mother's life. I'm sorry,
right. I
don't believe you can win in a swing state with that. What's your reaction to the president and today in reciprocal tariffs? To me, as a free and fair trader, it's got to be free and it's got to be fair. It's anything but fair. America's been getting ripped off. And I think ultimately a lot of these countries will come begging, knocking on Donald Trump's door, begging for a deal.
Look, the fact is, if you watched the president today in what I thought was historically one of his more important performances, he laid out, this is what they do to us. This is how they block us in Australia. We can't sell beef. This is how they block us in Japan and South Korea. We can't sell rice. This is how Japan blocks us from selling cars. You go down the list and you say, yeah, it makes perfect sense that the United States has the right to protect the largest market in the world from being ripped off. And you're exactly right. People are going to show up and they're going to start saying, okay, if I eliminate this and you get to come and sell stuff, can we work out a better deal? And that's exactly what Trump wants. But he also has a deep instinct here. One, build factories in America for national security reasons and for quality of life and income reasons. Two, make sure that you actually start shifting the tax burden back onto tariffs. Prior to 1913, when they passed the income tax, tariffs were the primary source of revenue for the United States for its entire first 150 years. And they raised plenty of money. Jefferson said proudly in his second inaugural, there was not a single internal revenue agent because all their money came from tariffs. So Trump is actually returning us to a very successful American model that created the biggest industrial society in the world.
And by the way, Smoot-Hawley was passed after the crash in 1929, 9 months later. But why let history and truth get in the way of the good story? Yeah.
Well, Milton Friedman proved conclusively that it was the monetary policy of the Federal Reserve that caused the Depression to get so deep and so long and had nothing to do with tariff policy.
All right, Mr. Speaker, always good to see you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.